Welcome back for another episode of Super Fun Game Review Podcast Go. Find us on facebook.com/superfunpodcast, twitter.com/superfunpodcast, patreon.com/superfunpodcast, Instagram at superfunpodcastgo, iTunes at Superfun Game Review Podcast Go. Thanks and enjoy the show.
Welcome back to another episode of Super Fun Game Review Podcast Go! Tonight we have a very special episode. This is brought to you by one of your Patreon donors. Thank you, John Evelyn. This episode is dedicated to you.
Thanks, man.
Not a problem.
Thanks.
So let's do some quick introductions. To my left, we have Steve, the Steve Smith.
You died.
And across from me is Mr. Ralph DeStefano.
I don't have anything.
Got it.
Zero insight.
To my right, I have Matt Clark.
Fear the old blood.
To my left, have our special guest, John Eveland.
Yo, what's up?
And your host this evening, Harry Bowles. Get good. So why don't we just jump right into our initial impressions? Open floor.
All right. I bought Bloodborne right when it came out originally, and I struggled with it a lot. And I kind of fell off of it just because of the difficulty of the game and the fact that I just had other games that I wanted to play. I'm really glad I got to return to it and really had a driving force to complete it. And let me tell you, as Steve, John, and Harry saw, I beat this moments before we started recording.
Well, let's be clear. It's like 30 minutes before because Harry had to fuck with the cables.
Well, yes, okay, yes, but you know what I mean.
Breaking down that fourth wall, John.
I came in the room, and the credits were rolling.
Yeah. On my literally last-ditch effort.
That
That's
literally
gotta be-
was, because you said, this is my last try.
Yeah, this is all I got for it.
That's got to be satisfying.
It was so fucking satisfying. I came a little bit.
He did.
I gotta say, I was a little hesitant to get into this game. I heard brutal things about it. And the first night I actually started playing, John was watching me play through SharePlay. And despite him giving me all these little tips and tricks, I was still seeing this as like an unbeatable game. Like I saw myself stacked up against like amazing odds, and I really honestly didn't think I was going to be able to get even halfway through this game. I thought I was going to try to struggle through as much as I could, try to pull as much information together for the podcast that I could. But over the couple of weeks that I did play this game, I got a little bit better here. I got a little bit better there. I looked up a strategy, how to do this. I started exploring a lot more, and I really got in to this game, like the crazy depths of this game. I tried to experience as much as I could in the short window of time that I had. I think I poured about 60-some hours into this game in a period of like 4 weeks.
Damn.
Yeah, I really wanted to see as much, because I got balls deep into this game. I really got into it.
Harry got balls.
Balls
Deep.
He's talking about
Balls deep.
So I only heard of this game beforehand because I know John was very avid about it. And I think I actually watched you play some of it through SharePlay like months and months ago. So I was interested, but along to ride Harry's coattails, I've heard nothing but brutal things about it, and I met the furious anger that was just starting the game. I'm like, oh, fuck. Only to realize, all right, you got to play this a lot differently because I've never played any of the Dark Souls. Yeah, it was interesting, but we'll get into the rest of that.
Did you run into much furious anger?
And great vengeance! Yes, very much of it so.
I don't mean to sound like a broken record here, but this is my first Souls game, or my first From Software game. I'd always heard they were brutal, and I stayed away. And having dipped my toes, I think I spent the first, because I didn't have anybody guiding me in the beginning of the game. I did toward the end. Harry came in and helped a lot, helped me get to the end. Everything you were saying, Harry, about
the steep learning curve, or
being an impossible task.
Thank you.
Rocking out with your cock out.
Yeah, it's exactly. That was the point I was driving home. I'm glad you picked that up.
Yeah.
balls.
I mean, that's really what you have to do. You have to rock out with your cock
Yeah.
out.
One hand in the controller, one hand with your cock.
Everything you said about the
3
learning
analog
curve,
stick.
I pressed buttons with mine. That's how I did the heavy attack.
It's impressive.
that's how I did the gestures.
You guys all saw it. You guys all saw it.
It did.
Just for $1.
Ralph's
on the
waving
picture.
hello.
Just for $1.
Hello, companion.
That's how I parried.
I'm not gonna lie, I felt
I
overwhelmed.
call it my blunderbuss.
Spread shot. Harry, everything you said about the steep learning curve, I felt about 4 o'clock this afternoon. I was ready to throw in the towel. I wasn't rage quitting, but I was ready to throw in the towel and be like, look, you beat me. The struggle is real. I anticipated the struggle, and I underestimated the struggle, personally, I feel. I did know of Bloodborne when it came out, and I can't remember who told me now, but like the Souls games, I understand it, you're more like tankish, and in this you're more like a glass cannon.
So I came from Souls. I was born of the Souls. So in Dark Souls, it's a lot more of a defensive play style. There's really 2 ways to play Dark Souls. You can play it the fun way or the tank way. The tank way is you've got a big shield that absorbs physical damage. You take your shots when you can get an opening, and you just, put your head down and you just kind of grind through it. And it's I think why a lot of people don't like the Souls games, because it is very tankish because you're trying to prevent yourself from dying. The other way to play a Souls game is to be super aggressive, play, 2-handed weapons and play 2 individual weapons and play it super wide open. And if you take damage, that's fine. You just live with it. And one of the things that I think is really interesting is I played Dark Souls 1 and 2 as a tank. And Dark Souls 3, I play balls to the wall. Because when you play Bloodborne and it forces you to play a more aggressive play style, it makes you realize that you need to play that way in Dark Souls, and it completely changes the way that you play Dark Souls.
So you could say that Bloodborne is like a religious experience from software games.
I don't know if I'd go that far, but it does change the way that you play Dark Souls. So, like, if you played Dark Souls before, when you go play Dark Souls, if you ever pick up another one of the From Software games, you'll play it in a more aggressive style than most people when they pick up just Dark Souls, because of you having played Bloodborne, because it changes the way you play Bloodborne. So it's a really interesting evolution.
My understanding, and also having played Demon Souls and Dark Souls 3, is Bloodborne is the speed game.
Yes.
It's like you play with speed and tact, as opposed to like being able to turtle up in something like Dark Souls and Demon Souls, where you have the shield to rely on. And just a real quick tidbit, there is a shield in Bloodborne, but it's a joke.
It's pathetic.
It's literally, it saves you 1 hit. You take like half damage the 1 hit, but then it staggers you and you can get visceraled right off of the bat. So it's a different style of game.
The game forces you to be aggressive.
Which makes sense when you get into the lore of why your character would be more aggressive and less defensive.
Well, let's wrap up our initial impressions. Let's jump into game development.
Game development.
This is from Software.
I like that.
From.
They're made famous by the Souls games, starting with Demon Souls, which is a PS3 exclusive, and then they had Dark Souls 1 and 2, which were on both PS3 and Xbox.
Correct.
I believe. This was actually a return to being exclusive. This is only available for PS4 owners. They have not made any mention of this ever being on Xbox at all, and to this day, it's still not out for Xbox users.
No, I did read, like, simultaneous, what was it, Miyazaki?
Yeah, Miyazaki.
Was
Yep.
the director of this game. He wanted to make a new IP, and that kind of worked with Sony because they wanted a new IP for their system that was exclusive at the same time. So
Yep.
their ideas kind of synced at, like, the perfect time. And I believe what I was reading is when they started this project, it was called Project Beast. I guess it didn't get the Bloodborne title until further along in the development of this game.
Right, and actually, I remember the lead up to Bloodborne, they were showing Project Beast several times as this PS4 exclusive, and it wasn't until really late in the trailers that people started to piece together, like, hey, this is a From Software game. Like, this is actually, they would show Project Beast as just this, hey, this is a PlayStation 4 exclusive project that we're working on. And they didn't reveal that it was that was making it or anything like that. So what was interesting was when they started with the Project Beast thing, they kind of like kept back that it was From Software that was making it. And actually, most of the gaming fans started to realize, hey, this seems like it's a Souls game. And then, PlayStation started to actually play into that, into this big reveal of, hey, it's actually our exclusive Souls, and I'm air quoting, game, because this isn't actually like a Dark Souls numbered game or anything like that. It's like a spiritual cousin to the Souls games, where it has that level of difficulty, but it doesn't have that Souls title, and it doesn't have the same gameplay.
Essence of Souls.
Yes, essentially, yeah. It's the same idea, like go fight really incredibly hard bosses.
When did this game come out anyway?
This came out. This is the launch title, wasn't it?
15?
15.
PS4 launched in 13.
It didn't launch with the console. It was within the first, I believe, 8 months.
I think they started development in 2012.
It was released in March of 15.
March of 15.
So yeah, From Software is really known for making extremely difficult games that, are not built on their accessibility. It's not an easy thing to get into. They don't tell you a lot, especially in the first Dark Souls. They don't tell you a lot about how mechanics work. They don't tell you how the gameplay works. If you want to learn it, you just start playing it.
Breaking a lot of conventions.
Yeah, it does not hold your hand, and it does not tell you what to do, and you just kind of either have to read the guide, which is fine. They actually give you one when you buy the physical copy. There is a control scheme, and it tells you here's a whole thing you can read up on how things work. But who reads that, right?
Not too many people these days.
Everybody expects a tutorial. So it's really interesting because their philosophy and how they make games and how they develop games is totally different than how we see games being made today, where it's, press A to shoot, It's just totally different. For example, not to get into Dark Souls too much, in Dark Souls, they came with pick a gift at the beginning, and it can either be like a key or some fire bombs or whatever you want. One of them is a locket, and it has no purpose in the game. But Miyazaki, for years, totally held this rumor up of, oh yeah, the locket's in there for a reason. It's there. It does something. It doesn't do anything.
Guy sounds like quite a character.
Yeah, he put this thing in as a joke just so people would pick it, so that he could basically troll all these people that play his game.
He's the Ralph of video games.
Yeah, it's
the ultimate troll.
Well, I wasn't going to go that far. Ralph's a nice guy.
That's a compliment.
Ralph's a troll.
Yeah, Ralph is a troll.
He's the best.
No, to compare me to Miyazaki, but yeah.
Oh, yeah. You're
So,
welcome.
I mean, he does things that are purposefully sometimes dickish, and I kind of like that, because difficulty in games, I think, has really gone down in the last few years. Like, there are games that are just super easy. Like, if you can't beat them, it's holding your hand. And this game's not for everyone. I appreciate that.
So, two things to note I think it's worthy of speaking about. The setting of the game, inspiration from the Victorian Gothic era.
A lot of H.P. Lovecraft.
Yes, I was going to say something
Yep.
like that. H.P. Lovecraft.
Eldritch horror.
Architecture of Romania and the Czech Republic.
Dracula.
Yeah, Bram Stoker.
I think it's very apparent in
Oh,
the
yeah,
setting of this game, too. And I we'll get into it more in graphics, but I love the setting of this game.
Yeah,
Me too.
it's not a fair comparison, but let me just throw this out right now. I was still on like the first third of the game and just felt like there's no vampires, like there's no Dracula, like traditional vampire, I guess you could say, but I felt like the game was almost Castlevania 3D done right, which I started with the threaded cane as my weapon.
God help you.
Did
Yeah.
you really?
I started with the threaded cane.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. I picked up the the serrated the saw spear, and I had that for a while, and then I had the I basically used the rifle spear for the rest of the game. But with the threaded cane, the sort of the secondary attack for it, with it being practically a whip, I really started to get this Castlevania feel for it, and enjoyed that. And the setting is amazing.
All right, so let's jump into story, guys. I think this is something we're going to have to dissect as a group, because I think the story is very elusive in this game.
Story.
We're going to have to piece this story together, because I think the general consensus of this group is it is very elusive in this game.
It's not a cohesive, like, okay, here's part A, here's part B, here's part C, here's the end of the game.
No, it's very cryptic, if anything, in this game.
So this is another place where Souls really shows its influence here. And Miyazaki, when you look at his game design, it's pretty consistent. Not everybody interprets the stories in Dark Souls and in Demon Souls and in Bloodborne the same way. It's open to interpretation. And they leave it that way purposefully because it's not supposed to be a story. They lay out the framework. You can anticipate, or you could interpret who's good and who's bad and who's wrong and who's right in that story. I think Bloodborne's a lot clearer cut in who's good and who's bad.
Yeah, absolutely.
But if you look at a game like Dark Souls, some of the characters are very ambiguous, and there's not a lot of clarity on who's right and who's wrong, or what the story even means, or who's in charge here, because it's up to you to figure it out.
Mm-hmm. And I think that takes place in this too, because like when you start really diving into the lore of the characters and stuff, and you start to see like Jura comes to mind, where you start to see like, oh, okay, so maybe we're actually perpetuating this like terrible thing that's happening.
Who's Jura?
Jura is the guy that mans the Gatling gun
In Old Yarnum, just to clarify.
in Old
the
Yarnum.
the guy at the top of the tower.
And you can get him to be non-hostile towards you.
Yeah, that's what I did in my gameplay.
I actually killed him.
Did you?
Yeah.
You got him to be non-hostile and then killed him.
No. I didn't get him to be non-hostile.
But you can.
Yeah, you can. I was trying to use that area as a leveling area, and him trying to shoot at me the entire time did not work out for me.
I can see that.
So I ended up actually going to the tower that he was in and trying to fight him, and he is incredibly tough. He's like one of the harder fucking hunters to even kill in the game.
And you...
So I kind of cheesed him a little bit. If you get up to the top and you dash through his initial shot at you and do a heavy attack at him, he'll back up to try to get away from your attack. So he backed up off the ledge and just fell to his death.
There's a lot of characters in this, and you can miss characters completely. Never talk to them, and it's not wrong. It's okay. Eileen the Crow. How many people talk to Eileen?
Was she the one that was hunting Vicar?
She's hunting hunters.
Yeah, she hunts few people.
She hunts a few
She's the one with the
people.
bird beak?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I talked to her twice. I never actually assisted her, so in my game, she probably died.
She dies. Yep.
Yeah.
I killed her.
You killed her.
She's in the room after you kill Vicar Amelia. She's like waiting in that room for you.
Yes, if you do certain things. Well, she sees you as a hunter that's gone mad, and she attacks you. Now, if you assist her, you can actually... She gives you some stuff.
Yeah.
In Gascoigne's area, Gascoigne's partner, Henrik, has gone crazy. And you help her...
And so is Gascoigne, really.
But Gascoigne's dead at that point. So then, at that point, you go there, and Eileen is fighting, Henrik in his yellow garb. And you help her fight Henrik. And if you kill Henrik, she talks to you, and she's like, I didn't even want your help. You help her a couple more times, and eventually she, is dying because she's injured, and she gives you her badge.
That's where I was at. I went in to try to fight the Crow of Cane...
Canehurst.
The Crow of Canehurst.
Yeah.
I did a couple times. I tried to whoop him, and ultimately I just let it go.
He's the hardest hunter in the game.
I forget which one this was exactly.
Well, you probably didn't get him because you have to do Eileen's quest line up to that point in order to do it. So there's missable things, and that's okay. You will miss stuff in Bloodborne. It's almost impossible to do everything in your first playthrough if you're not using a guide.
Yeah, I know about the king. You can defeat the king and then wear his crown and speak
Martyr.
to the queen.
Yep.
But I didn't do that in my playthrough.
I didn't go anywhere near Canehurst in my entire.
Canehurst is awesome.
I've heard it was really cool. When I was doing some research after I had played a majority of the game, there's this guy on YouTube that I have loved his videos for Dark Souls and everything like that. The guy's name is Vadi Vidya on YouTube. He does incredible lore videos, and he does this series called Prepare to Cry, and he talks about the lore behind the characters. It's incredible. He goes through items, he goes through encounters. He's like connecting dots that nobody else is.
No kidding.
It's great.
Yeah, and that's
the guy is really on point, and the dude has a great voice.
yeah, he does.
He has an incredible voice.
Someone's gushing.
I could listen to his dulcet tones all day.
Yeah, he has like dulcet British
Yeah.
accent. It's great.
So for me, that's an important thing to bring up, and I'm glad you brought it up. The item descriptions are super important in this, and you'll never catch stuff if you don't read them. Who got the tiny music box?
I did.
Did you use it against Gascoigne?
I did.
I
I used
did
it
as well.
when we co-opted. That's what. If I used it once, he went to beast form and he was like freaking out and like
Yeah.
doing whatever,
Yeah.
and you went in for a.
If you do read the item description, it says on the inside it has
The
To my-
inscription.
to my love from Gascoigne,
Right.
right? And it basically tells you, oh, this will be useful, and then you fight Gascoigne for the first time. He probably kills you. And then you're like, oh, maybe this will be in use because you can play this music box. And you remember talking to the little girl who said, this always calms my dad down. It doesn't connect the dots. It doesn't say, any of that stuff. But you can understand, like a blood-starved beast is another really good example of this. Pungent blood cocktails, they don't really have much use in the game except against werewolves because they make werewolves go to the pungent blood. But if you read them, it says, this blood is like attractive to anything that is hungers for blood. So if you throw one on the ground in Blood-Starved Beast in that boss fight, he beelines it towards that or to wherever it was thrown, and it gives you an opportunity to go up and get some free hits in. So there's a lot of stuff in the game that it doesn't tell you how to do it, and you don't need to do it, but it makes it more interesting if you do. And a lot of the stuff that Vadi gets is off of those item descriptions. And a lot of the stuff that a lot of the people read into the lore is because of the item descriptions.
Yeah, it's
Right.
not just going to hand it to you, but it kind of gives you clues almost. Yeah, makes you think.
So, as a general basis to the game, let's just try to dissect maybe like the overall theme of this game. Is it in a dream world, first of all? It feels like it is.
So
Maybe.
Maybe, yeah.
my interpretation of what is happening is like, and this is kind of based off of a lot of what I've like read also, it seems like the hunter's dream is where your consciousness as a hunter remains. And then when you go out into the actual world, which is the hunt, you're killing things, and when you die, your consciousness is then brought back to the hunter's dream so that you can wander out again to just continuously kill beasts. But that all plays into like the whole end of the game, which I don't necessarily think we should start
No, I
delving
agree.
into right away.
Kind of sounds like Scientology when you put it that way, though.
It is. The whole game.
The whole game is Scientology.
I'm glad you figured it out.
Garahim is L. Ron Hubbard.
I could have sworn I saw Tom Cruise.
So if you take it at its face value, you go to Yharnam, your character goes to Yharnam to receive blood ministration, which is there's blood that heals sickness and makes, cures diseases and all this other stuff.
Miraculously made by the Healing Church.
And you go to Yharnam to get blood ministration. And then after you get the blood ministration, you realize that you're there on the night of the hunt. And the hunt is this, where they purge the beasts and the evil in their land. Now, this hunt goes horribly awry based on how the other hunts have gone. They usually end after a certain point. This hunt just seems to keep on going, and they can't figure out why. But the basic idea is that in order to transcend the hunt, and that's the first note you find in the game, right, is, receive the pale blood to transcend the hunt, right? In order to get out of the hunt, you have to figure out why the hunt keeps going, right? So that's kind of the framework of the very beginning of the story. Now, when you get into the characters and why they're doing what they're doing, it gets a little crazier, but we'll get into that in a little bit. But that's kind of the setup.
Okay, fair enough. Not to keep jumping around, but character-wise, there was a knight that I encountered several times in the game. I was a huge fan of him. Like, I thought he was a cool character. You know which one I'm talking about?
No, what night?
You meet me in the church.
He's like a
He's a holy knight.
He's like a holy knight. He's completely proper.
What's his name?
I encountered him I want to say 3 times. He even assisted me on a fight with a boss.
Same here, the Bloodstarved Beast.
Yep.
Bloodstar. Yeah.
Or I used him there. I don't know if you didn't.
Yeah, I did.
I thought it was a later boss I used him at.
Here's the thing with Alfred. Let's talk about Alfred.
Okay, well, what I saw, so maybe I didn't see his full storyline. He seemed like the most pure character that I encountered in the game, and maybe he tails off in a different direction later. But
yes, he does.
What I saw, he seemed the most pure character I encountered.
Do you want to do the whole thing with Kanehurst?
I'll run through it.
Yeah.
Do it.
Yeah, so Alfred is a hunter of Vile Bloods. The Vile Bloods are the guys who inhabit Kanehurst, where you went. Right?
Yes, the big castle,
and
which by the way was one of my favorite areas of the game.
I love Kanehurst.
It looked absolutely
That's
beautiful.
Castlevania.
Did you whoop the boss there?
Yeah, no,
Nice.
I beat all. Was it 21 bosses in the game?
Did you put on his crown?
I did not put on his crown.
So remember when you got the invitation to go to Kanehurst?
Yes.
Okay.
You hop in a stagecoach and
it
literally takes you there. There's no other physical way to get to Kanehurst.
Yep. So when you get to Kanehurst, what actually happens is you can then give your Kanehurst summons, you can give one to Alfred and tell him, hey, this is where the Vile Bloods are at. They're in Kanehurst, right? Logarius is actually a hunter of Vile Bloods as well. He's not from Kanehurst. He's actually protecting everybody else from the Vile Bloods by protecting the Queen's throne room and basically concealing her existence. If you kill Martyr Logarius and then put on the King's crown, it actually opens up a door at the back of
Behind
the
the
boss
chair?
room. Right? Yes, behind the chair. And then when you
this
go...
was on the roof where I fought him, though. Is
Correct.
that
Yeah. So
Okay.
you go back through there, and then there's basically the Queen, and you can actually join the Vile Bloods at that point, right? But if you tell...
Can you join multiple factions in this?
Yeah, so you get runes, and then you can equip the rune to the faction that you want to be a part of.
Gotcha.
So,
okay.
So what you can do is you can send Alfred there, and Alfred's whole reason for being is he's a follower of Logarius. He gets there, he finds the Queen, and he just beats her into a silly red paste. Like, destroys her. Now, here's the thing. You can't kill the Queen. If you kill the Queen, every time you come back, she'll be alive again. But Alfred will basically sit there and pound her into dust, right, as long as he can. But he goes nuts because he can't actually kill the evil that he wants to. So you can say that he's pure, but the reason for doing what he's doing is because he's basically a zealot.
He does a heel turn. He basically becomes like the Joker almost,
Sorry
or
to
that
ruin
kind of
that for you.
madness, like laughing madness.
Yeah, it's pretty sad actually at the end.
Is that how his storyline?
That's how it ends. Yeah.
So what do I have to do to achieve that?
So
Like,
you-
what did I
Throne
miss?
room?
Is it just putting on the crown? Is that what I missed?
You have to put on the crown.
Oh, and you
talk-
have to give him the invitation.
talk to the Queen and give him the invitation to go to Kanehurst.
Where do you give him the invitation at?
Where
Where he's standing like
He's-
above Old Yarnum?
Yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
yes.
Exactly. He's still there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's how
shouldn't-
Alfred's story ends.
So what indicators in the story would say, "Hey, I need to give him this"? Like how would you put 2 and 2 together there?
That's the thing. You really have to have an understanding of what is going on in the lore
Yeah.
to
Right.
piece these things together. I know there's more story about it, but like I joined the League
There's like
and
civil.
I don't know anything about the League.
I didn't join the League.
It's the only rune in that slot that I ever ended up getting because I didn't kill Willem either. I let Willem live.
I didn't kill Willem.
Provost Willem.
He's the one in the chair that's just pointing at the
Yes.
moon, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I never got the eye rune or anything like that. Bergenworth.
Bergenworth, sorry.
I'm trying to remember.
Before you
Before
kill
you fight
Rom.
Rom.
Right before you kill Rom.
You know, before you like jump in, there's the dude on the chair
And he
sitting
point,
in the
he
wheelchair.
points
Oh,
to the edge.
I killed him.
I didn't. You can get a rune from him.
So I talked to him. He just mumbled. He was
Yeah.
like,
Ah.
and then I killed him. And each time you get insight. When you talk to him, you get insight. When you kill him, you get insight.
Yeah, that's true.
I talked to him and then went and killed Rom. I didn't kill him. He drops a rune, the eye rune. But I never like got that.
Yeah.
Literally the only rune that I got in my playthrough in that 4th slot for like the runes that you can equip to yourself was the League rune. That's it.
Got it.
Yeah, and the League League Covenant is kind of the co-op covenant. The Hunter of Hunters is Eileen's covenant, and
Right.
she basically, you go into worlds of people that have invaded other worlds and killed people. So you're fighting, and then the people who, I think there's 2 covenants that actually do that. So there's those, and then the Vile Bloods are the ones that invade, and then there's the Protectors, or the Healing Church, who goes in and try. That's the one Alfred's a part of. So the way that you would figure out, just to get back to kind of the beginning of what we were saying there, the way that you would get to figure out where Alfred should go is you find Alfred, you talk to him, you find Alfred again in Old Yarnum, he's kind of stuck there, right? He doesn't know where to go anymore. He's like, well, I guess kill beasts, I guess, right?
Doesn't he say he wants to give somebody a good death?
Yeah.
To martyrdom.
Yeah, he wants to be martyred, basically.
Oh.
Yeah, that's like his whole purpose. So that's why he goes nuts when he doesn't get to be martyred.
For some reason, I didn't think it was himself.
It's
I
him,
thought it was
yeah.
somebody else. No.
So what he does is when you read, I'm searching for the Vile Bloods, and then you talk to the Queen and you find out that she's the head of the Vile Bloods, that's when you would send him to her.
Okay.
Right? So that's kind of how you
It's
tie
not
it.
very obvious at all. I
No.
will say that.
No. And none of those character storylines really are. If you want to go back to Dark Souls, it can get crazy how hard it is to finish some of those character storylines.
You used cryptic earlier in the episode. I think this is a textbook definition.
Yeah.
I would say
Yeah,
so.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
It is, yeah. But if you want to talk the main storyline, which I think is what we should focus on, because
Yeah.
the character storylines
Right.
are kind of difficult and not everybody meets the same characters, you can miss Eileen completely. There's really 3... So basically, the Yarnamites found these ruins, right? The ruins that were made by the Pthumerians.
Bless you.
Themarians. It's Themarians. It's just like a silent P.
The good old silent P's.
Like pterodactyl.
Pterodactyls.
The Themarians basically contacted the old ones, right? They found a way to contact these old gods. Because of that, they were able to figure out...
Sorry, before you get it any
Yeah.
further, are the old gods the Cthulhu-looking motherfuckers?
Yes.
The ancient ones.
Yes, the ancient ones. The old gods, they figured out a way to contact them. And the Yarnamites want that power for themselves, right? So they figure out how to achieve that power. And there's really 3 characters that allow themselves to find that, right? So you have the Healing Church, right, which is led by
Lawrence.
Lawrence and Willem.
No, Willem is Bergenworth, the scholars.
The Bergenworth scholars are
Yeah.
kind of a subsect of that. But
No. It,
oh
it
yeah,
starts.
you're right.
It starts with Bergen. So
Bergenworth is where they all are, and then they split off.
and then they split. Lawrence leaves. Like there's that cutscene of Lawrence leaving Willem, where he's like, "I have to leave," and then they recite together, "Fear the old blood." Like,
Right.
that's the last time that Lawrence is together. Lawrence goes off and starts the Healing Church, and then the Healing Church actually dissects into the choir and the hunters, right? Or like
The hunters are a subsect of the Healing Church, and then the choir is the other subset.
and then there's the School of Mensis.
Okay.
School of Mensis.
Okay, so so it's mainly like church and school.
Church, school, and
Well,
Bergenworth.
it's Bergenworth, and then it's weird. So it's like it's Bergenworth, and then the Healing Church, and then it's Gehrman with the workshop hunters, and then there's Mensis and the scholars.
And that was led by Mikolash.
Mikolash.
Yeah, Mikolash.
Okay, because that's another character I want to talk about at some point.
He's super important.
What's the other sect of the church? Choir. Who leads the choir? I forget.
Still.
No, Lawrence. It's
It's
Lawrence.
Lawrence,
It's Lawrence, who is also the head of the church, is the one that like kind of leads the choir as well.
And it's the old ones that they actually contact is
Right.
kinda how they tie. And this is getting crazy, and I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No, it's all right. It's all
It's
right. I
very
played the game,
interesting,
and
though.
I
It is.
still.
So
yeah.
there's a very like we said
yeah.
before, there's a very deep lore here, and not all of this is like
Yeah, it's
surface
not apparent.
level, or you can all complete the game, and we all had different experiences.
Look,
Again,
Link,
like I said,
Link is good and Ganon's evil. That's what Princess
Right.
Zelda is. Yeah, was it Princess
right, and
Peach?
if that's all that
Princess
you can
Peach is a
understand, you know,
You need
no,
some insight, Ralph.
it's
You're right.
a lot of this has to deal with going through, and again, like I said, I looked
the
into the lore because I was so interested in it, and I know how the Souls games work with
Right.
the depth of lore, so I thought that I had to like look into it as well to be able to. I don't know, so I'm gonna say, for the sake of listening to the podcast, we can't go any deeper than where we're at. There's
I
a
agree. It gets
lot.
crazy.
No, I agree.
We're about to get into like the whole Elder Gods thing. Like that needs
Right.
to be something else that people that are listening to, guys, go out there and discover this stuff for
Discover it
yourselves.
yourself.
Like there's, like I said, Vadi Vidya. He does like a 30-minute explanation of like how deep the lore really goes with this. There are ancient gods and there are things like that. We'd like to keep to more of the surface of where you're playing and less of where we're at with how deep you can go, because there's like some really interesting theological themes in this, and like some very oddly like, oh, does the church uses all of this power to really take over the city of Yharnam. They take over the city and become the superpower.
At a high level, you've got three groups, right, that are really important here. And it gets into why the ending, when you get the true ending, why it makes sense. So you've got Mikolash, who leads the School of Mensis. You've got Lawrence, who leads the choir.
Mikolash was a bitch, by the way.
Lawrence, who leads the choir, and Willem, who leads Bergenworth, and then Gehrman, who leads the hunters. Those are really the four big parties that you really have to think about when you think about this game. They all, with the exception of, I think, Lawrence, because he's already dead at the beginning of the game. So those are the four big players that you really need to think about when you think about Bloodborne's story. Each one of those characters, with the exception of Lawrence, because he's dead, have a piece of the umbilical cord, 1/3 of the umbilical cord, which is probably the most important item in the game, because each one of them used the 1/3 of the umbilical cord to make contact with an old one and then create a reality out of it, basically, and create and use that power. Lawrence wanted to commune with the old ones. That's why at the top of the choir, right, when you go all the way through upper cathedral ward and you get up through the college or the choir room and all that kind of stuff, you fight Abritus, who is the old one that he contacted. It's why Willem has Ram right near him, because he contacted Ram. But the reason that he contacted Ram was he was trying to stop Mikolash, who basically tore a hole in reality.
Yeah, he made the nightmare.
Yeah, and he basically created the nightmare and the blood moon because of it.
And that's what I kind of wanted to talk about, because I remember the helmet that he wears on his head was like his
The
way.
Mensis cage.
It was the way of like him like inserting himself in this alternate reality almost. Like he started to touch on that, and I got a little bit of tidbit. I don't know the whole background.
So all of the students of Mikolash also wore the fucking helmet, and they were like this unseen sect of the church because they were the ones conducting all of the experiments to try to contact the old ones. So that's why when you go into like Yagul, the unseen village, you see all the students that are just like dead around wearing the fucking
Yeah.
the
Wearing
menses
the menses
cages.
cages.
Okay.
Yeah. That all the students would wear these because they were connected into the nightmare, and
Exactly.
that was their passage to it.
But Mikolash uses it to contact, Murgo, and he basically rips the College of Mensis out of reality and puts it into the nightmare realm, which is an old one's realm, basically. So that's why you have to get teleported there. That's why you can't just walk there. And then the fourth one is Gehrman. And Gehrman actually has a piece of the umbilical cord.
In the old workshop.
Old abandoned workshop.
I found this when you go close to the upper cathedral
It's a
ward.
bitch.
There's this big, it's almost like a well
Yes.
where you can go from placard to placard, jumping all the way down. But
Yeah.
there's a ledge midway down where you can go through a door, and it takes you to an exact replica of the workshop, except
Yeah.
it's like a copy and paste, but this one's dilapidated, run down. There's nobody there anymore. It's just
There's an old broken down version of the doll. There's a bunch of other little items. that
You
are
can actually
important to the
find
lore.
an item that you can give to the
You can
doll,
give to
and
the
she
doll. Yep.
sheds a single tear.
Oh, it's like a brooch or something for her hair, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I did that.
Yep.
I got that.
Gehrman used the third of the umbilical cord to contact the Moon Presence, who's the true final boss of the game, and basically create like a pocket world where the hunt never ends, or where he can just live in his like perfect hunter's dream. That's why it's the hunter's dream.
So there's like two schools of thought on what the hunter's dream is, which is interesting because it seems like the Moon Presence itself was trying to manipulate Gehrman into having Gehrman train all of these hunters to go kill other old ones to try to make the Moon Presence the only ancient one, because the only time that there's anything changed in the hunter's dream is after you kill the only old one that's a mandatory boss, which is Murgo's wet nurse.
Yeah, and you never actually kill Murgo.
Right,
Murgo's
you
still
only kill the wet
you
nurse.
just kill the wet nurse.
But the wet nurse is
an old one.
Is an old one.
Yes.
Isn't Rom as well?
Rom is as well, and that
Rom is a halfway. It's
Yeah.
not considered a full. So, like, when you kill
vacuous.
Rom, it still says pray. When you kill Murgo, it says Nightmare Slain. Nightmare Slain means that it's an actual ancient one.
Okay.
A fully ascended ancient one. Rom is a halfway point. Rom is keeping a secret for Willem.
lost him.
You're losing me.
The story here is
crazy.
nuts.
It's crazy.
Let's
Gets
kind
a
of
little deep.
let's talk about the ending. I would like to get.
I
to
think
the
we're at that
ending.
point.
I think we're
Yeah,
at the ending. Yeah.
Wait, I'm sorry. There was one thing. I'd like to know who the lady was praying to. So the final boss when you go in and fight the wet nurse.
Murgo's wet nurse.
Oh
Correct.
yes, actually, I
a-
wanted to know about
there's
this
a-
too. There's
the
like
Yarnum.
a ghostly figure.
That's
That's the queen.
that's the Queen Yarnum. It's Yarnum, Queen of something.
Is there any quest with her?
Yes.
Because
Yes,
I
there
accidentally
is.
killed her the first time I encountered her.
Well, you didn't.
She has something going on like the Hunter's Dream, though. She is tied to a place that she can go out in the world and die multiple times,
Yeah.
and she's tied back to the same way our hunter is tied to the Hunter's Dream. She's tied the same spot.
She is the final boss of the final non-randomly generated Chalice dungeon. She is incredibly difficult.
And she's Murgo's mom, isn't she?
Yes. That's why
Yeah.
she's bleeding.
Yeah, that's why she has like the blood.
blood.
And she's
stain.
praying toward the baby that's crying.
The old ones, above anything else, are trying to reproduce. They can't reproduce on their own.
Yeah,
That's why they
there's
have
some-
surrogates.
That's,
that's
why,
why
there's
they're
like the umbilical cords.
Yeah.
That's why
That's
all
why
of
all
the
of it's kinda
symbolism
birthy.
around.
It's kind of weird, but that's at the highest of highest levels. Which ending did you guys get?
I sacrificed myself to Garahim.
Gehrman.
Gehrman.
Damn,
It's
Garahim.
okay. I was saying Pythagoreans.
It took my head.
So just to play it out, because I only saw the one ending. Like, can you guys just give me a quick rundown on how these endings go? So there's 3 different endings, correct?
Yeah.
There are
Yeah.
3 endings.
There's like a bad, a medium, and a good ending.
bad, a good, and a true.
Okay, that's fair.
I really honestly think it's bad, and weird.
It's bad, and weird. Yeah.
Yeah, like I don't think there's a good ending.
Bad, and beyond.
So there's no dog ending for this one?
No.
there's no dog ending.
No.
After you defeat the wet nurse, you can warp back to the Hunter's Dream.
So
Right.
everyone goes back and you talk to Gehrman.
Right.
And then based on your decision there and stuff that you've done in the game, that's kind of where it leads off.
Right. So for me, the time crunch basically got me, and rather than try to fight Gehrman, I just I submitted to his will, basically to take my life. At which point you get a cutscene, you kneel down away from him, he pulls out his huge scythe, and in a dramatic fashion just takes your head. And then you wake up.
So what he's offering you is a release from the dream. So he basically says, I'll let you out. And then he just kills you and you wake up and you're outside of the dream. So what was real, what was fake, who knows? That's the bad ending.
That was some good opium.
Yeah, basically.
I'm going to go there next time.
So the ending that I got was I defeated Gehrman, but I did not consume 3 of the umbilical cords. So I was absorbed by the moon presence after you defeat Gehrman, and then woke up in Gehrman's place and was being wheeled out by the doll. And she was like, oh, the hunt begins anew.
So it's like your dream at that point then.
Yes, then you're the caretaker of the hunter's dream.
Interesting.
You're the host. The whole thing, like, it plays into the whole, like, the moon presence is using Gehrman as the host for the stream to go kill other ancient ones.
Right.
Because it's hostile towards the other ancient ones. The one thing that I did notice between the lore of all of the things is, like, none of the ancient ones actually seem to get along. It's not like, oh, it's Team Ancient One versus Team Human. No. It's all of the ancient ones against each other and fuck the humans.
Well, they don't even see the humans as
Equals
as
at
equals.
all.
They're just tools.
So I got the true ending. I fought Gehrman and then the moon presence by tracking down at least, I think there's 4 umbilical cords, but I got 3 of them.
There are 4.
Is there any kind of bonus if you consume 4 rather than
No.
3? No.
3 extra insight.
So where do we get those?
Mikolash has one. So after you kill Mikolash, you
Yep.
get it off his corpse.
Mm-hmm.
You ended the game with 2.
I guess I did.
There's one in the college on the 2nd floor, and then there's one in Iosefka's clinic,
Right.
and then there's one
In the
not
old
Hunter's
workshop.
Dream.
in
Right.
the old Hunter's Workshop, yes.
So I got 3 out of 4. I don't think I got the one in the college.
So you got the true ending.
I did. So Gehrman was probably the biggest hurdle of that whole thing. He is a fucking bitch, which we'll get back to in gameplay. But as soon as you kill him, you fight the moon presence.
So before you get into the fight the moon presence, the cutscene between the moon presence and Gehrman is almost exactly the same as the good ending. The moon presence comes down from the moon, embraces you, and then you resist the moon presence, right? And then it fights you. Versus in the good ending, you embrace the moon presence and then you wake up in a wheelchair. So that's the big difference. And there's a reason for that. I'll get into that in a second. Go ahead.
Makes sense, though. I do understand enough that why that makes sense. But I will say, things get a little hazy. You kill the moon presence, and then there's a quick cut scene where it goes back to the hunter's dream, and you just see the doll. I don't think you ever see yourself there.
You do
You
see
do.
yourself.
Do? See, I don't remember that. Because
You're the squid.
You're the
That's right.
You're
Yeah.
the slug.
You're the old one.
Now,
So-
please explain that to me.
Okay.
Because that...
All right, I will explain it very, very simply. By eating the 3 umbilical cords,
Do you become an ancient one?
you've ascended just regular human
Right.
existence to become an ancient one.
You're Super Saiyan 2.
You get eyes on the inside.
You achieve what Willem and Lawrence and Mikolash, all of them failed to do, which is actually ascend to a higher existence.
I mean, it depends on what you think their motivations are, but
Well, I mean, Willem, straight up, he wants to become an ancient one,
Yes.
and he thinks humanity can get there. He just doesn't know how. See, the interesting thing between all of the different sects of the church and the whole lore is everyone has like a half piece or a quarter piece of what needs to happen to become this. You're the person that puts it all together, and in the true ending, you put it all together and then actually ascend.
How does the Reborn one fit in, or the One Reborn?
Oh, the
fit
One
in
Reborn.
to that. They tried to make one. Isn't that right? They tried to make an ancient one, and it comes out fucked up.
Yeah, kind of.
Basically,
I mean, it did like fall out of the moon kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Well, it literally did.
Well, that's
Ripped out.
like between the use of the chime maidens and shit like that. The One Reborn is literally, I believe, the rebirth of something that was like a failed experiment.
No, I don't feel so good.
It's a failed experiment of the Church of or the School of Mensis.
So it's the failed idea of what you become in the true ending. It's just weird.
No.
No.
It's an experiment done by humans to try to
Right.
create an ancient one.
But then if you get the true ending, you become an ancient one.
yes, but it's
You do
not
it the
through
right way.
experimentation. It's
Yeah.
through literal like
Eating.
you ascend,
It's
you
ascent.
die, and you're instead of
cords.
being tied to the hunter's dream, you're now tied to this ancient one.
do Papa G and Vicar Amelia tie into the big scheme of things, or are they just
No.
They're kind of low level
I
players.
think you just
Yeah.
like saying Papa G.
'Cause
everybody
Papa,
refers to
does.
him online?
Papa Guac.
Papa Guacamole. Yeah. No. So Father Gascoigne is basically Papa Guac.
Papa Guac.
Papa Guac. Father Gascoigne is basically just a low level hunter that goes nuts.
Okay,
then
that's what I figured.
And then Vicar is the same thing. She's just a low level church member that goes nuts. It's they're
There's the low on the totem pole, more or less.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot to be explored and discovered in this game. And if you found even remotely anything that we've just rambled on about interesting, this is the game for you.
Yeah.
Go
there's a-
search for it.
I do find the plot very interesting. I can't express enough. It is very elusive. I mean, okay, I know you guys did a lot of like outside the game research. Like, how much would you have actually picked up just playing through?
I would say I probably would have gotten 25 to 30%.
Yeah.
Can I say, like, I feel like a big point in this game, and I think they were actually aiming for this, is they wanted to build a community exploring this
Yep.
game.
Yep.
The
Oh
notes.
yeah, they've done that with all of the.
They've done that.
That's
in a lot
why.
of their games.
That's why it is so utterly important the notes that other people play
Mm-hmm.
and other people leave to you. It's so important. It can be total trolling though.
Great chest
but-
ahead.
Yeah, great chest ahead, Mimic. But that's not in
No,
this
it's-
game. It's not
It's
in
like
this
a statue
game.
with tits.
Yeah, like
Like
yeah.
I've seen that note.
Yeah, it's great. But yeah, like that's kind of starting to lean towards gameplay, which is I think
Yeah,
where
yeah,
we
yeah,
should
yeah.
go.
Sure.
So let's
Probably about an hour and a half.
yeah. So we talked about story for a bit. Let's moosey on.
Let's moosey on
into
the
Moosey on.
gameplay.
We're gonna cut
Moosey
that
on
in.
into the gameplay.
We're cutting that
Moosey.
in.
Gameplay.
All right, guys, so let's start off gameplay. Now, we do have a lot of bullet points we want to hit, but let's start with your favorite weapon, and then we're going to move into favorite boss, and then we'll branch off from there.
I'll go last.
So, my favorite weapon, I'm going to just do a melee and firearm just real
Sure.
quick. I did stick with the saw blade for like 99% of the game.
The Saw Cleaver.
Yes, the saw cleaver. I liked how quick it was. And originally when I was playing the game, I would do the longer ranged option, but I got better at getting in close and personal with my opponents where I could just slash and slash and slash. And I maxed out. Well, I didn't max. You can't
Like
max.
stamina build.
I put a bunch of points into stamina so that I could just keep going. I would probably hit 15 or 16 times without running out of stamina.
That's crazy.
Or I could just keep chaining and chaining and chaining attacks and just you keep stunning them to the point where they can't react quick enough to get out of this
Stun lock.
stun lock. Yeah, essentially. As far as firearms go, like obviously I used the blunderbuss for parrying quite a bit, but there was a lot of satisfaction in firing that fucking cannon and just blasting somebody. You could only do it essentially once because it would eat up 12 of your silver bullets unless you paid health for more, but boy, oh boy, was it satisfying.
The cannon.
The
Oh,
cannon.
yeah, it
The
was.
cannon's gross.
Notable mention, though, I did use the torch quite a bit.
Hunter's Torch is a totally legitimate weapon in that game.
Mainly for the werewolves. Because it stops a lot of their combo attacks.
Oh yeah, they like they're not scared, but they're a
They're a little bit more
cautious.
cautious
Yeah.
around you. It
Yep.
gives you a little bit more window of opportunity to attack back.
I pretty much always used the blunderbuss unless I was trying to like get some cheap hits in with the cannon.
Cheap hit.
Cheap hit.
No, because if you did the blood bolts, you could always do 2.
True.
So like for Mikolash, I always noticed that it was like really, really good to get 2 hits with the cannon in on him.
I think somebody had trouble with Mikolash.
God.
I think his name is Ralph.
I watched him through SharePlay too.
That was bad.
no.
Oh, boy.
Over and over.
Oh,
Hey, man.
I know.
And then
I was level like 60.
That's your
So Ludwig's Holy Sword was like my go-to. I fucking love that weapon. It was my plus 10 weapon that I made by the end of the game, which when you
Plus 10, wow.
yeah, so when you jump from plus 9 to plus 10, it's a huge difference. But you in the first playthrough, unless you spend 60 fucking insight to buy one of the blood stone or the blood moon stone, you only get 1.
Where do you get that though? Because I actually bought mine. I
bought mine as well.
There's a
it's in
second.
Nightmare of Mensis.
It's in Nightmare of Mensis, but it is a huge bitch.
Yeah, you have to go past the brain trust / winter lanterns to get it.
Yeah, so the winter lanterns are that key that you said you found?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that opens up that area, and that area is terrifying.
It's brutal. Like, so first off, it starts, you have to get to a secret path, and then you go through. So, like, you know, in Nightmare of Mensis, when you just start out, and there's that light that shows up, and you start getting hit with the fucking...
Yes.
Yeah, so it's pretty much you have to go past at least 3 enemies that as soon as they see you, that starts happening.
Oh, God.
It's a fucking pain in the ass.
It's a nightmare.
Oh, God.
Yeah,
It's a nightmare
Nice.
of Mensis.
I
I see
knew where
what
that
you
was
did
going.
there.
But yeah, Ludwig's Holy Sword. I was using the axe until I got the Ludwig's Holy Sword. As soon as I got the Holy Sword, though, I was like, "Oh, this is the weapon for me."
How is the axe though? I didn't actually use that once.
It's actually really quick. I really, really like it. And I actually saw, when I was trying to beat Gehrman, I saw a really awesome, like, cheesy way that you can beat Gehrman with the axe. If you extend it and then do the...
Spin to win.
Yeah, the spin to win. So you can extend it and you can do the charge attack. The first attack usually misses. The second attack actually stuns Gehrman and knocks him on his ass. Every fucking time.
that's awesome.
Doesn't
Damn.
matter if he's quickened. Doesn't matter what it's doing. It's just like every time, just boom, boom, knocks him on his ass. And then you can hit him with a over attack. It's cheesy.
But effective.
Yeah, but I used that quite a bit until I got to Ludwig's, and then I never went back.
Pretty much followed with Harry. It was the Saw Cleaver and the Blunderbuss. I don't think I've really ever used any other firearm. I definitely enjoyed some of the nice crowd control with it.
Blunderbuss for me too, because we're pretty boring in that regard. There are a lot of weapons that I didn't use, and if I ever do a New Game Plus run or co-op run, I'm going to experiment with those. I did pick the threaded cane to start with. I'm trying to remember why I did that. Then I found the what did I say, the
Saw spear.
the saw spear, right? And ultimately got the rifle spear, and I stuck with that to the end of the game. And I was not even plus, I think it was plus 6 on the rifle spear.
Dude,
Jesus.
Man.
That's brutal.
That's brutal.
Well, I did it.
Yes, you did. Good
Well,
job, Ralph.
I had help from Harry. He guided me through to
Mikolash.
Mikolash. Yeah, I fought Mikolash with a plus 6 rifle spear.
Yeah, the plus 6 is fine there. It's
If you would have tried to fight Gehrman, you would have been in trouble.
yeah.
Yep, didn't do it. And
Yep, did do it.
Nope.
I warned him against that too. For time's sake, I was like, don't
well,
do it.
it was like 7:45, and I was like,
Look, man, I gotta go.
Hey,
not
I
carried.
beat him at 8:20.
Yeah,
when
right.
everyone was late.
I think that the rifle spear ended up being my favorite weapon. The alternate charge attack for that is like a 10-foot rush. And if you can hit with that, you can one-shot a lot of enemies. And
It was
I used
doing
it to
when I was
effect-
watching you through SharePlay. You were doing serious damage to the bosses. Just if you, it's all about timing. I feel with that one because you're leaving yourself vulnerable for that charge up. Ralph seemed very efficient with it though when I was watching.
I will admit I platinumed this game. So to platinum this game,
La-di-da.
oh, indeed.
So what game plus are you on?
6. So
John, quit jerking yourself off.
4 at least.
I can't help it. I'm at least on New Game plus 4. Yeah, I might be on 5 or 6. I have multiple characters too. So I've played with every weapon. I think if I had to put when I first played through it, I played with Ludwig's, and then I kind of got more into the speed game in subsequent playthroughs, and I used the Blades of Mercy.
Blades of Mercy. I wanted to get those, but I couldn't whoop the crow.
Yeah, the crow is really tough. She gives them to you if she dies. So you can get them like at the end of her quest line when she's dying. She gives you her badge, and you can buy them. The Blades of Mercy are awesome. They're it's a short sword that separates into 2 shorter swords. So you kind of have like 2 daggers, and you just like shred shit. But if I had to pick one, it would probably be Burial Blade, because that weapon's just fun. It's Gehrman's weapon, so it's a curved sword. You can't even get until New Game Plus. It's a curved sword with its alternate form being a gigantic scythe, which is just hilarious when you're, mopping up trash mobs in Central Yarnum and you're just, wrecking fools. But yeah, and then Blunderbuss is great. Cannon's hilarious, especially if you use Bone Marrow Ash, which is
yeah,
it's
a serious buff.
Stupid dumb. Like you can one shot just about anything in the game if you Bone Marrow Ash or Cannon. And then
even Garham?
No, except for bosses.
Except for bosses. I like the double shot pistol, but you got to manage your resources in this
repeating
game.
Pistol?
Yeah, the repeating pistol. Because if you burn through your bullets too fast, you're gonna have a bad day. So those are mine.
So why don't we do the same thing that we just did, but let's talk about favorite bosses.
Boss.
Let's do double tier on this. Your favorite boss for whatever reason, if it's look or style or whatever, and then the most difficult / hated boss. I think that'd be a good thing to talk about.
I agree.
Clark, why don't you start this one off?
My least favorite and the one that I struggled with, I think the most, honestly, was fucking Gascoigne. I had such a fucking issue trying to defeat Gascoigne. I don't know what exactly it was. I just wasn't getting the fucking mechanics. I couldn't get the fucking parry down to save my fucking life. I struggled more with the little guys and not the giant beasts. I felt like the giant beasts were easier to manage. I think my favorite boss...
Can I say something about Gascoigne?
Sure.
He's a total skill check. When you go through in New Game Plus, you're going to destroy Gascoigne first time you fight him, because it's a total skill check. He's checking to see, can you parry effectively?
Yeah.
If you can, you beat him almost immediately.
And that was a skill I didn't pick up. But then when you guys saw me fight Gehrman, I visceraled Gehrman like 5 or 6 times in front of you guys. Favorite boss though, I'm gonna go probably just based on like look. I thought Vicar Amelia looked incredible, like all the moving hair and just like I thought she looked really fucking cool. It wasn't necessarily like a tough fight because you can just kind of get behind her and fuck her up, but I thought.
You really like that one.
Yeah, wow, Harry.
You gotta get behind her and fuck her up.
I didn't.
A little.
Yeah, there wasn't that much of a
All right,
pregnant
fine.
boss.
Whatever.
Jesus
Yeah,
Christ.
continue.
No, I thought that she was like she wasn't a disgusting looking boss. I thought she was just like a really like semi-majestic looking character, still even in like a giant beast form. I thought she was like, I say this with quotations, but like a beautiful boss, where she was like this big, elegant looking like werewolf type
Dear
of
lady.
character. Yeah. Whereas like, Cleric Beast looks like it has like fucking like rot on it and shit like that, and like everything. I mean, One Unborn is like
Gross.
disgusting looking, and I also feel the same way about Murgo's Wet Nurse. Like I think that character looks incredible.
Yeah.
This is a little tough for me. Like I know that we've been making jokes about Mikolash, but I mean he was he was just like a footnote. Like I struggled with a lot of bosses like that.
Seriously, the smaller guys are fucking harder in this game. You'd think the giant fucking beasts are like
I
the
had trouble with
toughest,
Rom
but,
actually.
like,
I had a fair bit of trouble with Rom. Okay, so I really liked the Shadow of Yharnam. I want to say that I enjoyed that mostly because I beat them on the first go.
yeah,
I think.
they're like not even really a boss. Because
I mean,
you
three
fight
enemies like at the same time.
Yeah, but you fight shadows at the end of the game
Yeah, that's
several
true.
times.
Depends on your level when you get there.
No, I just I don't know. Gassion, I did it in a couple tries, and
Gascoigne,
what did I say?
Gassion,
Fucking A.
Papa Guacamole.
Papa Guac.
yeah,
Papa
Papa
Guac.
Guacamole.
Yeah, you can come back to me.
All right,
All right.
Steve. What do you got over there?
So I'm gonna say, initial difficulty wise, probably Gascoigne, only because just really trying to work down the parry. It's like I was still just struggling for a while. It definitely was. That's like your make or break for it. I think my favorite is probably just based off of like the intro is the one Reborn, just where it's just you're just see the moon come down and then just it slowly pours and drips out of just this mangled, tangled mess of darkness, however you want to put it. I mean, just the way that was, it just shit a giant demon right in front of your face. It's just like, what the fuck is this? That's neat.
One Reborn was actually one of the only bosses in the game that I just like first try walked up and killed.
Oh yeah, it really wasn't that hard. That was
It's
actually
pretty easy.
yeah.
Yeah, you just go up, kill the fucking maidens, and then go down and just...
Didn't think you can get to the maidens.
Oh,
Yeah.
really? Yeah, if you
I
run
was
right
just
past
dodging
it.
fireballs that entire
Oh,
fight.
no.
I mean, and that's not too terrible, but the only problem is, like, the maidens, they shoot the red fireballs at you, and they shoot the purple ones at one Reborn, they heal it. The first time I saw it shoot,
Big
I was
deal,
like-
Harry.
I was
we,
like-
didn't, we didn't even go after him.
I was like, boom, smash, smash, and then I saw it shoot a purple fireball and heal it. I was like, are there stairs over there? Yeah, fuck that.
Yeah.
Ran up, murdered all them, and I was
You
like,
can-
all right, now
you
let's...
can actually drop attack the one Reborn, and it does stupid damage. Yeah, because you can jump from where the maidens are, and it'll walk over to you, and then you can just drop right onto it. It's pretty gross. If I had to say least favorite boss, I'd probably go Moon Presence. That boss is super anticlimactic. It's so much easier than Gehrman that after you get past Gehrman, you're like, oh shit, there's another guy? And then you're like, its biggest attack is it takes you to 1 HP, but then it doesn't do anything for like 30 seconds afterwards. So you just go up and wail on it. You know, like it's super disappointing. Favorite boss is probably Abridus, Daughter of the Cosmos. She's super hard. She will totally mess your day up. What's interesting about her is she's not hostile when you go in the room. You can walk right up to her, and she doesn't attack you. Because if you go into this is getting into the lore a little bit, but the choir wanted to commune. They didn't want to take the power from, so they communed with Abridus. So Abridus is just like chilling, like talking to him. She's not hostile when you go in the first time. Super interesting boss. Really difficult. Uses some crazy ass attacks. And I still have nightmares about like the charge and the head slam down, because that thing will murder you. I don't care how much health you have, it will one-shot you. It's a fun fight. That's probably my favorite out of all the bosses in the game.
Ralph, you figure your shit out?
I really don't have a favorite boss, honestly. I want to say that in terms of like a design point, like I really like Father Gascoigne for the way that he transforms into a beast, that you can use the music box to exploit him. I sort of like that one's different. You know, it's not some big blob like the Bloodstarved Beast or the One Reborn, you know. And at the same token, like I even like Mikolash for that point, that it's different. You have to chase him around. There's different levels. There's different rooms. It gets harder. I mean, they all sort of get harder as you go on. It's just the way that they're structured. Even though I struggled with him, like that, I still like it from a design point. But if I had to go with one that I don't like, it's so weird, like how they're like right there. Like the love-hate relationship with the bosses. You know what? The witches were kind of lame.
Oh, the witches are such a joke.
A really easy boss.
Super
So it's
easy.
probably
Yeah.
my least favorite was that, even though it was different. And for a favorite, I can't really say.
Can we talk about how good it feels to kill a boss in this game?
Oh my god.
It's so satisfying.
incredible.
It's like my favorite part of any of the Souls series games is when you beat a boss after you die to it like a dozen times, and then you get them. Fist pumping. I'm like high-fiving my wife for no reason. It's a great feeling when you beat Gascoigne, because everybody dies to Gascoigne like 10 or 12 times.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because you're just trying to figure him out and figure out how to beat him. When you finally do it, it's just like, you get like wide-eyed. You're like, yeah. Born of the Blood. I think it's one of the best feelings in gaming is when you beat bosses that are difficult and aren't handed to you. And I think that's like the pinnacle of it right in this game.
Well, yeah, we were all fucking down here cheering when I beat fucking Garamond. Like,
We all we know that struggle.
yeah, like
Yeah.
it's just like it's a cool feeling. Like,
I completely agree with you guys. I do want to say that like it's incredibly satisfying, but the first time you fight a boss, at least for me, I found that my heart was really starting to pound while you're in there, and that doesn't happen to me a lot in gaming. Usually it's really passive. It's a passive experience, but for this, like, I mean, maybe it's I just don't play enough action games, like to literally have my blood be pumping while I'm trying to whoop this boss, to me was thrilling.
Okay, so my least favorite boss, Hemwick, was kind of boring, but the one that really kind of drove me nuts, I think, was Rom. Personally, it was just like a sloth just sitting there on this like icy lake, more or less, and I thought that one was boring. You're just basically just trying to avoid all these little spiders and slash at this pile of nothing.
nah, you just kill the spider.
Yeah, did you kill the spiders and then attack him?
It
or
makes
did you just go after
it
him?
makes Rom so much easier.
No, every time he. Okay, no. The big issue.
You
there,
can't kill him that way.
every time he teleports, new spawn of little spiders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and every time you kill him.
You just kill the spiders.
No, but while you're trying to dodge that like ice attack that either comes up from the ground or down from the sky, and you're trying to hack at these little things that are like surrounding you at the same. No, it's just so much easier to just
How many times did you die?
20 to 30.
Wow, holy shit, really?
So maybe
I didn't
killing
get
the
to 20.
spiders would have been a better.
No, that's when I was trying to kill the spiders, and I read
Oh.
a tactic online that said, "Fuck the spiders, go right for him." Took me 2 tries after that.
I read the opposite, and I beat Rom in like 4 tries.
I was somewhere in between 4 and 20, and
Word up.
and I think I glitched him
Word
out
up.
actually because I was attacking him to the point where he wasn't able to spawn more spiders, and I just finished him off.
Rom is actually stun lockable. So if you have a heavy weapon like Ludwig's, if you can stun lock him, you can basically just kill him.
I think he was just poorly designed. I thought he was very boring.
Lazy.
I thought of all the bosses in the game. I thought that his design was very lazy. Favorite boss. Now, I did like quite a few of them. When I think of this game, the first boss that jumps into my head every time is the Bloodstarved Beast. Just something about finally getting through Old Yarnum, because that was a pain in the dick at the level I was at that point, and finally just showing up. And that was the first one I was able to take like an ally, like an NPC ally into. I really liked it. But I gotta say, as far as design goes, Murgo's Wet Nurse, hands down. I thought that was a beautiful looking boss, and like that arena that you're in, and its attacks, and the whole fog system, and it's coming at you through like the smoky fog. I thought it was so cool.
So you know what was weird for me, and like I read the tactics for the Wet Nurse before I fought her, because I was trying to like get through. I beat Mikolash and everyone today. I read about like, oh, they're, you know, once they're at 70%, they're going to go through and you're going to get the purple smoke. I killed her during the first purple smoke phase. Like, she died before she spawned her clone, and I sat there for 30 seconds before it actually was like, oh, Nightmare slain. But I was just like standing around in the purple fog. I'm like, did I do it? Did it freeze?
Did I win?
Did I just fucking glitch out?
Processing.
Like, am I not gonna get this? Like,
Processing.
then all of a sudden it was like, boom, Nightmare slain. I was like, cool.
Oh, it's delayed because you got to wait for the baby to stop crying.
Oh,
it's
is
like
that what it was?
It's a
Oh,
delayed
yeah.
response for it to
Oh.
say it's dead. And it's
Weird.
like, yeah, I don't. It's
Yeah, I fought 3 of those.
It's weird because if you know what a wet nurse is, Does anybody know what a wet nurse is?
You mean
Yeah.
breastfeed? the
Yeah,
baby?
exactly.
Yeah.
Like, so you killed its like caretaker and its like source of food, and then it dies.
Yeah.
It's like, ugh.
Ooh.
Whoops.
Baby slain.
Start drinking
You
blood
monster.
instead.
That'd be great. Like after that boss fight, you just go into that like carriage. It's sitting there, and you're like, fat, 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 fat,
Okay.
just stabbing that baby in the head.
Oh my god.
Jesus Christ.
First person view just for that.
Just switches. You're like, wait a minute.
Jeez. I would like to say, like, I've shared played with a bunch of you guys during, well, 2 of you guys during, so it's like 50% of you guys. That's good. No, I mean, so get good is a real thing. It's funny because the first time I played with Harry versus the next time I played with Harry was ridiculous. Because you see, like, okay, do I go around this corner? Like, you're really tentative. And then, like, all of a sudden, you're just, like, balls to the wall, hit it, and just go. The way you guys moved and the aggression that you guys moved with was just totally different the later I saw you guys play. And it's really interesting to see how your skill set changes because of the game. Like, you learn how to play it and you actually legitimately get better. It's not like you legitimately get better because you just pick up an item or you get more health, right? You're just better at the game. So I would encourage whoever did beat the game, go to at least get to Gascoigne again and see how much better you are. Because it's such like a bellwether moment in New Game Plus, because you're just like, holy shit, this guy killed me 10 times? Because you're going to wreck him. And it's just going to be hilarious, because you're going to be like, I can't believe that I died this many times to this guy. And it shows how much better you actually get at the game by playing it. I think that's really interesting.
Let's talk about graphics, guys.
Graphics.
Game's beautiful.
I think the design is incredible in
Art
this
style.
game. They nail, like, if they're going for like this eldritch horror tale and just nail it out of the fucking park. The game looks incredible. The design is incredible. They hit all of the notes that you're looking for, like gothic, Victorian, like really in-depth, just core design. Everything from like the minute, just like dead bodies on the different sides of the pathway that you're walking along, to the character itself. Like, I don't think there's a bad combination of clothing on your character that doesn't look like well defined and precise, except for the Mensis cage. And even then, I'm sure there's like the Mensis cage with the scholar robes kind of looks okay. Like, I really honestly think that the game looks incredible. The boss design's amazing. That's all I have to say about the game. It looks amazing.
Well, yeah, and especially like the detail they put in the architecture and the buildings and the environment. Just that is something that really stood out from the very beginning of the game. You're looking around, you're like, oh, holy shit, check this out. And then you start getting in, you start seeing more of the enemies, you start seeing the bosses, and just the amount of work that was put into basically everything visual in this game. It's mind-blowing. It's absolutely amazing.
The statues, the in-game, in-lore art, in-universe art that's there, and how it contributes to the story is so interesting. And the world building. I would have liked to see the mouths move when people talk, but I guess I'm being a little nitpicky. A lot of the enemy designs I think are brilliant, but every once in a while there's a weird one, like the fly guys with a million eyes. They just seemed to me to be out of place. Most of everything I have to say graphically is good. The frame rate dipped here and there, but that's no big deal.
To build on that, though, I saw a couple instances where it dropped significantly on some of some of the generic enemies, that it looked like they were moving almost robotically, and that did.
Oh, in the distance, the further out they are, they have less frames of animation.
Yeah, I didn't like that. That
Yeah.
kind of took me out of the moment a couple times.
Yeah,
mainly in Central Yarnum is where I saw it the most. Maybe there was too many.
Because you get 10 to 12 Yarnamites running at you all at the same time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know how that didn't get caught in like play testing or something like that, where they could have just yanked a couple PCs out of a certain area. But I think they wanted to give it that like feel of like a witch burning or
Makes
like
me
everybody
think of-
gathering together for like a what do they
They're
call it?
burning a beast. They killed.
Yeah, and I think they needed to have so many characters to give it that appropriate feel on the screen. But I did see it drop, and it really took me aback a couple times when I saw that. But that was mainly the only area. It was in Central Yarnum where I thought it was the biggest issue in the game.
It's amazing how well this game stands up when you look at it now, considering that it was made in 2015. This game is pretty, and it's detailed, and the art in it has purpose, which I really enjoy. Like, the statues mean something. The Amygdala statues that you find in the Nightmare of Mensis. If you have enough insight, the game changes. Like, the world changes. So, I know, Clark, you did a relatively low insight run.
Yes, I did.
But if you have more than 25 insight and you wander around Central Yarnum, the game looks different. So, like, if you look at the Cathedral Ward Church, there'll be a gigantic creature hanging from the church, and it's actually what picks you up when you pick up that armor set. It's that thing. The world actually changes because as you get more insight, you see more things, right?
Is it seeing it for what it truly is, essentially?
Who knows? I mean, so that's the thing. Are you just going insane?
Madman's knowledge.
Right, it is called Madman's Knowledge, right? So is it you just going crazy, or is it real? Who knows? But the game itself is pretty. The art, the color, it's dark when it needs to be dark. It's bright when it needs to be bright.
The lighting effects, the way
The
they work
lighting
with
is
the
really
torches.
well done. Everything moves naturally except for dudes that get caught on your ankle and get
Ragdoll
flung-
physics.
get
I
ra-
love
get
that, though.
ragdolled
Like,
around.
I really like that.
But, other than that, it's a pretty game. It's just, I love the art direction. I like this game a little. I like it. It's good.
I had a physics ragdoll like a smorgasbord in what's the village before the woods? There's like a half a windmill. Anyway,
I know what you're talking
there's
about.
like half a spiral staircase. This will be
Yeah.
real quick. Sorry, half a spiral staircase, and there's two of the big honking dudes with the axes. They're not the things that look like Frankenstein's monster.
Not
They
the
look like
ogres.
executioners.
The
They're
executioners, right.
yeah.
So there were two of those, and I lured them inside and killed them. And then there's like a slew of dogs further down, and I lured all them into. And it was just like this, like they were all like all over each other. Like it was just like ridiculous, because the ragdolls were just everywhere,
Yeah.
all over the
Ralph's Bloodborne gangbang.
place. Basically,
Yeah.
All right, so I have a couple bullet points I want to touch on here. One of my biggest gripes was that frame rate on some of the characters when there's too many in the area. I think we did mention that, so I won't get into that again. I like the level design. And what I mean by that is essentially you're trying to get from A to B, A being your starting point, B being the boss of the level. But in between, you have to get through this whole level, but at the very end, you open a shortcut so that you can get from A to B a lot quicker. And the way they design the levels, it's like you can see where that cut through is going to be, but you have to get all the way around the area to open that door from the other side, which sucks. It's a shame you can't just get a lockpick, but no, it makes sense so that you see the entire environment before getting to that boss, but then not forcing you to keep doing that whole thing if you die at that boss. I like that part of the level design.
that's what I expected when I was early game. Like I thought part of the reason the game was so hard was because you had to start at the beginning and get all the way there. Sort of like Shovel Knight without the save points. Like you had to do the whole thing in one go. And that's why these games were so difficult and frustrating. I didn't realize, I realized pretty quickly that there are shortcuts like that. And I do like that mechanic. And also to sort of go off what you're saying is like if you look in the horizon, you can see the other areas of the game that you have to get to. And the architecture, it all stays... or not the architecture, the geography is all connected, and you can see it coming.
Also, I wanted to point out, I like the cutscenes a lot in this game. I thought they were very well done. They all looked like totally legit. I guess that also ties into my gripe as well. I wanted to see more of that and more on the surface story. I wish they didn't bury the story in, like, when you see a cutscene, it could mean absolutely nothing to you because if you don't pick up the right clues or anything, it has no.
You have no context.
Exactly, you have no context for some of these cutscenes. They mean absolutely nothing to you. I mean, they look beautiful, but do they really have any impact on your current playthrough without the correct knowledge? So I wish there would have been more dialogue or maybe more cutscenes or meaningful cutscenes without having to find some of that elusive information we were talking about earlier. Now, there was one spot right before Murgo's wet nurse. There's like a little loop you can do where I was actually doing a little bit of leveling towards the end of the game. You drop down this one area and you walk across this ledge, but when you turn the corner, boom, the moon is right in front of you.
Oh, the like the sewer way almost, where it's
Almost.
like water.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, that's fucking awesome.
It's like 90% of your TV screen
Yeah.
is just the fucking moon, and it looked absolutely gorgeous. So there's moments like that you kind of catch you off guard. I wouldn't have known that was coming unless I went down that one pathway. But again, that kind of ties into like the beauty behind this game. I like that they went with this Victorian theme. Thought it was very fitting, and I forget who I was talking to, but the way I describe this game is it feels like Van Helsing.
I remember you saying that.
And just hopefully when I mention that, it kind of gives you like what this game kind of feels like.
If I had to put an analogy together, Dark Souls is to Legend of Zelda as Bloodborne is to Castlevania. Every
Level design is brilliant. The
perfect.
boss design, none of them look like a copy and paste or repalletization. Like they all look distinctly different. I like that about the game. Let's start talking about music, guys.
Music.
So I gotta say, the music is awesome. I really can't say more of that. But I think you were saying earlier, Harry, it was like a 30-person choir they used for it.
Something like that, yeah.
Something like that, in like a full orchestra, which you can really tell the detail and the depth that they put in for the music. But I say spot on. I think they really nailed it. I was impressed.
They used the right instruments, I want to say, for the right sections. Like it's funny how like just like a single violin.
Musical.
No, I mean
I want to
like
hear that saxophone solo during Murgo's Wet Nurse.
As you're being sliced up by 6 blades. Oh boy, a 6-blade uppercut.
I guess I asked for this.
Yes, you did. All right,
Epic
Ralph.
sax guy. Fuck off, Ralph. Sorry, I guess it's a young person's thing.
Oh.
Hey, happy birthday, motherfucker.
Hey, happy birthday. It is officially your birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday, motherfucker.
Hope you enjoy spending the first 2 hours of it
Yeah, right.
talking about a game.
Surprise, motherfucker! It's my
Hard eyes,
birthday,
motherfucker.
French fries, motherfucker.
I think the sound direction in this game is actually really good.
Oh, okay. Yeah, don't let me finish my point. Just you know.
I thought you were done because you trailed
Sorry.
off.
You know
and
what?
stopped talking.
Fine.
Sorry,
I'm
Ralph's
done.
Music Minute.
I think the sound direction is really good. I think the sound effects for the weapons and that fucking sound of slicing through flesh every time you hit is awesome. Like that it's like very like just
Visceral.
yeah, it's very visceral.
I like the sound effects when you change modes in your weapon, like
Like
when
the-
you like yeah, like when
It's a
Yeah.
very satisfying
when you do all that.
clang.
It's so
Yep.
satisfying to hear.
I also like the voice work they did and how it changes. So, like, the Yarnamites, you know, they start out with, like, I'll kill you, you beast, or, like, you plebeian rat.
Yeah.
Away!
Yeah,
And they get more and more
and
like
then they get more
despondent
and more,
and,
like, as the blood
cryptic.
moon, when the blood moon comes out, they're just like, ah! Like, they just totally go nuts.
They were like, what?
No, the sound design, I think, is really good. It's directional when it needs to be, and the boss musics change. I don't know if anybody else noticed that. You get like halfway through a boss, and it like goes into kind of its like second phase. The music will change, and it'll get like more intense. They'll add more, horns, or like people will start to sing, or it gets crazy, or the tempo picks up. Like that's
Yep.
a little touch that makes the boss fight as you get closer to the end more intense.
It was a subtle way to get you, making it more intense for you, and you don't even realize it, more or less. So you're getting towards the end of that boss fight, you know you're coming down to the wire. You're starting to run out of your blood potions. He's starting to run out of health. Boom, they kick up the music, and for some reason, your heart is racing more now, and you don't know why. I mean, it's partly the intensity of the battle, but they just fucking ninja your mind with that music as well to just make it that much more intense. Your hands are getting more sweaty. You know what I mean? Like, it's this whole effect that just makes you feel like that boss was epic when you finally defeat it.
Can we talk about how sweaty your hands are?
Yeah.
Like, because it's not just during bosses. It's all the time.
Nah, it's not that bad. So the one thing I could have done without in this game, the people inside the houses with the lanterns. You knock on this window or a door or something like that, and they start talking. I could have done without that. It was just like weird interactions where maybe somebody should have just stepped out of the house and talked or something like that. But
There's lore there, though.
I understand, but I could have done without it, personally.
They're all locked away from the beasts.
I know, but just cut that completely out of the game. Like, I didn't need it at all.
The voice work for those segments,
It was
I really felt was like flat. Like, yeah, the voice acting is good in the game, but for those bits where it's just like I'm looking at a window that's lit and it's like, oh, I can smell blood on you. You must be a hunter.
That's actually pretty good.
that took me right in the moment. The Central Yarnum lantern, that guy right there, that's that fucking guy.
No, that guy's like,
Yeah, he's sick.
oh,
For
my
the
blood's
blood.
gone bad. Whatever. Yeah, but I didn't think, I don't know, it didn't work for me.
As far I know, we were talking about music earlier. There's a lot of points in this game where there's no music whatsoever. It's just you and the battle sound effects. I think they could have put something like ambiance or something as like background music or
Could have put ambiance in there,
Yeah.
too.
exactly.
Could have put an ambulance in there.
Amberlance.
Ambulance. I need an ambulance.
Oh, Blackberry
Ambulance.
Oh, Blackberry.
Ambulance.
What else you got, Harry?
No, that was my big things. That a lot of the music was really good. I will say that, especially like the boss battles. No, those other two things, meh.
Loved Hail the Nightmare. If you're listening and you want to get a sample of the music, YouTube it. Hail the Nightmare, Bloodborne OST.
The audio during the fight with Mikolash, his voiceover.
Oh, okay.
It's
It
like,
was good. It was really good.
it was so creepy, but like,
You heard it about a dozen times.
no, I
today,
do
right?
know that was kind of annoying. But the way he was like, "Do for me what you did for Ram" or something. I forget the exact wording he used, but it sounded so fucking sinister.
A hunter is a hunter, even outside of the dream.
Oh yeah, he did say
Like
that.
when you knock him down to phase 2.
Something like yeah. There was different like phrases he would repeat over and over depending on what phase you were in. But the way whoever they got to voice act that was fucking phenomenal. I thought they nailed that portion of the game.
All my blood was in my heart pumping. I didn't have any in my ears when I was fighting him. So
It was all in his heart and penis.
Yeah, I was about to say. Let somebody beat me to the dick joke.
Surprised it took that long.
I know.
Everybody's favorite moment. Let's move on into final thoughts.
Final thoughts.
All right, I'll start off with final thought.
You got it.
As frustrating and fucking frustrating as this game was, I really did like it. I started cursing your name very early on in the
Good.
game, John. I believe was what you were going for, and you succeeded.
Partially.
But it really was probably one of the better games I've played in a long time because not many games really challenge you like that. And those are so far and few between, and I really liked it. I did. I mean, I don't think I can really say any more than that. It was a fucking nightmare, and I didn't want to wake up for a while.
John, is this game a skill check?
Everything is a skill check. Life is a skill check.
I'm just sitting here thinking, is he trying to see how good we are?
No, I mean, it's not a game that everybody would be able to beat.
I don't want to repeat the things that Steve was saying, but
So don't.
I am glad. I am glad this game came to our table, so to speak, that you brought this to us. I do want to say that we forgot to mention the notes, and we talked a little bit about community, but the way that you can leave a note and you have a limited limited word choices and how people can get creative with that, and how probably like the day this game came out, those notes were so important. Like, it's still important now, but like to understand where to go, and if you need help like that, the way that those are there, and the way that you can get yours rated poorly as a foul note or as a fine note, and how the fine notes, does it increase your health or just
Both.
refresh it?
Both actually increase your health.
Both increase your
If you're
health?
playing when your note gets rated, it'll increase your health.
Permanently? Like,
No. Just like you'll get like a health boost.
Oh, I thought it was permanent. Okay, cool.
No, it's not permanent.
That'd be crazy.
It
if
would
was
be.
permanent.
Get
Well,
some of those.
It's actually a thing. Like there's like duel clubs where like people play PvP against each other, and if you get your note rated in the middle of a PvP duel, you have to reset
Oh man.
because you get a bunch of extra health over the other guy. You're not supposed to heal.
Some of those on my server were rated like 400 times. Like someone put a really good note. I got a couple ups and downs. Yeah, briefly, a great mechanic. I guess that's all of Souls, or all From Software games have that kind of thing in.
Yeah.
We also didn't talk about the gestures, which you can have a lot of fun with.
who are you communicating with, though?
I usually did the gestures completely unintentionally because I like shake my controller and then it's like. Meh.
I still don't even know how you do them.
Oh, did anyone fight anybody? Did anyone get invaded?
It's funny, actually, you mentioned that, because
Oh,
I was trying to help raise up Ralph a couple levels earlier tonight, and then on New Game Plus, the fucking sinister women are everywhere. I didn't know that. Like right in Central Yarnum, and I was like, fuck, Ralph, we're going to get fucking pooned by this guy. And this guy, we're going to get pooned. This dude runs up the road, like, at us, and I was like, fuck.
I think
we're
you'd be
like, between me and Ralph, we hit him like twice and just fucking dropped this guy. Like, I was embarrassed for this other player.
It was like, oh, he entered. Oh, he's gone.
it was bad. There was actually a point in the game. This was when I was trying to go through Nightmare of Mensis. 3 characters back to back to back, right at me, and I dropped all 3 of them.
Yeah, so that's not the required Nightmare of Mensis. That's the other part. The invasions in there are freaking crazy. Like you could just constantly get invaded.
I only got invaded one time, and it was actually really funny. I don't know if it was a glitch or something, but like there was like a pig, and I was like running up to the pig, and it was in Nightmare of Mensis, like right before you go to fight Murgo. I like hit the pig, and it came up, and I was like, all right, I'll just deal with him whenever, or I'll try to get like pig aggro going around, so it'll make an interesting, interesting like duel. So I go and I'm like about to visceral the pig, and the guy comes cutting through the fucking pig. And then, just like as I'm about to visceral punch, he just steps right into a fucking visceral, and I just fucking murdered him.
I was like,
that
work
what
like
the
that?
fuck?
Wow. Yeah.
It got him with
Wow.
the animation. I don't know.
I just
Crazy.
got him with the fucking animation, like, and the game's all about the fucking animation, so like all the damage is probably dealt from the fucking knuckle, like.
Speaking of viscerals, one more final thought for me. I did think that eventually we were going to get to the point where we become like a beast, like become like a werewolf, or there was going to be an option for that, and there wasn't, as far as I know.
Transform.
You can transform?
There's pellets, right?
The pellets. Yeah.
But they
But
didn't
you don't
really
physically
Yeah, it
transform.
just gives you like almost like a mist around you. But
Yeah.
that was really all it did.
Yeah, that increases your attack too. Lowers your defense and increases your attack, and they stack.
Yeah, I didn't use
So if
those.
you start killing stuff and you take bleach blood pellets and you just keep killing stuff, you can start doing crazy damage, but you get like one hit killed. KO.
All right, so my final thoughts. Now that we mentioned like the whole Sinister Bell thing, like I think I encountered about 10 opponents, and I didn't lose once. But I'm concerned. Like, yeah, woo! How is that?
Jerking
How
my
many
own dick
dicks do
off.
you have?
Like, is it all randomized? Like, who gets
Yeah.
inserted, or is it based off of your level, or like I don't know.
It's based
what
off
they're
of
out-
who's in your area.
It should be based off your level range plus who's in your area.
Yeah, but
Who's
the,
your neighbors?
the level range can be 20. After level 50, it can be off by 20. So you could be level 70 fighting a 50. They do that out of fairness so that level 70s aren't picking on like level 50s consistently.
Yep.
So like you could be like a level 70 and be like, "Oh, I'm just going to go fuck with a bunch of level 50s." Because that would be the actual bracket, but no, you could be a level 70 zone into someone that's a 90 and just get fucked.
I don't know. I didn't try to fuck with anybody else's game. I thought that's like a dick move, but
It is.
fucking there's trolls out there.
Dark Souls 3 has some really interesting mechanics involving.
It's a weird mechanic to add to the game, but
There's like whole
there's a
tiers of
Yeah.
gear and shit that you can get in Dark Souls 3 that is specifically about invading other people's shit.
It's a unique mechanic.
It
It's a
is.
single-player game,
It totally is.
but there are mandatory multiplayer sections.
so I imagine you
No,
don't-
you can silence. You can. There's items.
You can play offline.
Oh, that's true. You can play, but that's a diminished experience.
you don't
Yep.
get all the notes then, I guess. I'm going to keep it short and sweet. I like most of what this game has to offer. My biggest gripe, like just talking about everything, I wish there was a more concrete, on the surface storyline that even a moderate playthrough you could enjoy some form of story. I get it. Like that's awesome that they put all this like cryptic information in there, but that should have been like secondary to like a main plot line that everybody can enjoy. Like I said, like I like everything about this game, and it's just like I feel like there's this little bit of a void just missing from my experience in this game, not having known the whole story. Because like I was ready to just absorb everything this game has to offer, and it just I was just missing that part of the game for me.
Definitely look up those videos.
I think the game's great. I agree with Harry a little bit about I wish some more of the story stuff was a little on the surface. All in all, though, for what you can just look at this game as being like a boss rush type of mode, it's incredible. And I think that the added layer of this cryptic story that is there, one thing I can actually appreciate about the fact that the story is below the surface is the fact that you don't have to sit through many very long cutscenes if you want to play the game for just the gameplay. And the gameplay is incredible. And I really think that having this lore behind all of it that is there for you to explore, and you really need to just like give yourself into it and dive into it, I think that's awesome. A lot of these games now are like, oh, here's a 10-minute cutscene. Well, like, what if I don't want to fucking sit through a 10-minute cutscene? What if I just want to play the fucking game? Like, but it's there, and it's rich if you look for it. But it's not forced upon you, and that's what I like about it. And I think that's, like, some of the strengths of it, actually. Go ahead, John.
This is one of my favorite games.
Yeah, we know. I know, because you've been talking about
One of
this
my
game
favorite
for
games.
years.
And I wanted you guys to play it because it is one of my favorite games. It's probably top 5. It's incredibly well designed. It's incredibly well built. It's unique. Nothing else plays like a Souls game or Bloodborne, and nothing else plays like Bloodborne. Art design is insane. The music's great. Bosses are all unique. There's really not much you can say about it. It's one of my favorite games.
Fair enough. All right, guys. Let's talk about our scores.
The score.
Is that how that sound goes?
That's our new sound effect.
Score.
The score.
Sounded just like his sister.
I know. Dead on.
The score.
The
score.
That score. 4 blood farts.
Jesus Christ.
All right, Steve, you want to start off with your score?
Yeah. Score. Man, where the hell am I going to put this?
F
Hey.
minus.
Yeah, it's unofficial score F for fuck, which is basically the majority of what I was saying. Official score, I'm going to have to give this an A. I'm surprised I enjoyed this game with as much frustration as what was there.
Ralph, what's your score?
90.
Clark?
One visceral attack out of completing the fucking game.
No, that's fair enough.
Fuck you guys.
Garahim's asshole.
No.
I like the blood
No.
farts back. 4 blood farts out of 1 stained pair of underwear.
That makes it sound terrible.
I said his name wrong this whole
Yeah.
episode,
That's
didn't
not
I?
a
Gascoigne.
No, not Gascoigne. The
Garamond.
Garamond.
Garman.
What were you calling him?
Garahim?
Garahim.
I think that's
Gahim.
I think that's the
Hello,
villain.
Gahim.
I think that's the villain in Skyward Sword.
It's
actually.
cool. He never saw his health bar come up anyway, so it doesn't really.
I didn't.
God damn.
You're not trolling me by saying that.
I know.
You got one of the 3 endings.
You got
Yeah.
an ending.
The
That's
easy
good.
one.
So if I was to grade this game only a few hours in, it would have been fucking rough. But I gained a lot of insight for this game.
Shut up, Mimsy.
I can honestly give this game a strong 9.0 out of 10.
What is that tied with?
That ties with The Last of Us.
Wow.
Wow.
Hey, in this game, you can choose your own ending.
It's true, you can.
Wow.
It's true.
Let's talk about the
And
ending
it's
of
a
The
better
Last of
game
Us.
for it.
On that note, John, what you got?
10 out of 10. It's 100% best game. It's the best game.
It's the best.
Best game of this generation?
I think it's the best game of 2015 by a lot.
What else came out in 2015?
Nothing that mattered.
Did Phantom Pain come out in 2014? Or 2015?
I think so.
Best game of 2015.
I'm not saying that's better.
So,
Your motherfucking mouth.
I think that's going to wrap up our review. I think we've done a very in-depth analysis of the game.
We got deep.
Again, I want to thank John Evelyn for coming on the show.
Died.
Thank you, John.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, John.
So,
Did you know that John Travolta takes blood infusions to stay young?
He does. Yeah, it's like Peter
I'd
Thiel.
believe that. I would believe that.
Peter Thiel actually does that.
I read that Bloodborne is just an analogy for Scientology.
I'm pretty sure it is. Pretty sure it is with the volcanoes and everything.
Praise be to Hubbard.
Well, we're on their list now.
Yep. That's it.
That's the end of that one.
all right, guys. So before we wrap up the episode, we are taking down our poll this evening. Our winner, and the next game we'll be reviewing, is Disney's The Lion King.
All right.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, so am I.
You're
Great.
welcome.
Not yet, you're not.
Is that 2 polls I got?
Every
Yeah,
poll. You've won every poll.
You're the poll troll.
I think that's 4.
Playing
All right,
less
are we
of the
done, guys?
unlikely.
We done?
Clark's disassembling.
Yeah, Clark,
It's
Just-
like
just-
2:30 in the fucking morning.
Yes, so let's do a
Well, you
proper
guys are
sign off before you start pulling shit apart. And that's coming from the guy who was asleep 6 minutes ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, if you wouldn't have gotten that cat nap, you probably would have been taking stuff apart.
Were you dreaming?
Good hunter.
So if there's anything to be gained from tonight, it's get good.
Game over. Game over. Game over. Game over. Game over.
Thanks for listening to Super Fun Game Review Podcast Go. Stay up to date on our Facebook at facebook.com/superfunpodcast.